There are books that entertain, books that inform, books that are just pure shit, and then there are books that shatter your perception of reality. The Secret Teachings of All Ages by P.Hall is certainly in the latter. It's not a guide, it's a revelation. It didn't just answer my questions, it revealed questions I never knew to ask. It was like being handed a master key to unlock the mysteries of life itself. For those who are unfamiliar with Hall's teachings, I'll give you a quick rundown of his backstory. P.Hall is widely considered to be one of the most influential mystics and esoteric scholars of the 20th century, devoting his life to the unseen and the mysteries of reality. Born in 1901 in Peterborough, Canada, Hall wasn't just a scholar, he was a seeker. By the age of 27, he published his magnum opus, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, an encyclopedic guide to the mysteries of the world. Now, I'm not trying to glaze him right now, but to have published a book like this at the age of 27 is genuinely mind-blowing. I mean, this wasn't just a book, it was a beacon, illuminating hidden truths about philosophy, alchemy, mysticism, and the spiritual journey of humankind. Reading it feels like you're going on a journey through the ancient wisdom traditions of humanity, a treasure map leading to the esoteric knowledge that has been passed down through secret societies, symbols, and sacred texts. But I guess the real question is, why does this knowledge matter to you? What can these ancient teachings offer in a world dominated by technology, the pursuit of material gains, and the relentless drive for external validation through likes and followers, career titles, or the illusion of success? Let me put it like this, by the end of the video, you'll not only understand why this book is considered a cornerstone of spiritual and esoteric knowledge, but also how its profound teachings can shift your perspective and transform your life. Now, before we get started, a quick disclaimer. The Secret Teachings of All Ages is 678 pages long. Yeah, it's not quite what I'd call light reading. Honestly, I think it took me an entire 6 months just to read through it, and even now I still return to it for reference. The book is, in essence, an encyclopedia filled with an entire history of spiritual, esoteric, and even occult knowledge. What I'm getting at is, it's impossible to break down all of it in a single, digestible video. In fact, I wouldn't really recommend approaching it that way, as the material is heavy and requires a lot of reflection and further study. It isn't something you can quickly consume or skim read. So in this video, I'm going to focus on what I believe are some of the most powerful and enlightening parts of the book. I've also included questions throughout. I highly recommend pausing the video when you encounter these. I don't want you just watching this once and forgetting everything I talk about. The questions are there for you to really take on board what's being discussed and help you actually apply the knowledge in your personal life, which is where real change occurs. Lastly, if you are someone who is of the opinion that Manly's works are somehow evil or should be banned because he was a Freemason, then this channel probably isn't for you. I want you to listen very closely to what I'm about to say. Knowledge is neutral. It isn't inherently good or bad. What you do with it determines its impact. Allowing your own personal biases to cloud this fact is a dangerous game to play. Trust me, I've been there. I had to decondition my mind for years to avoid falling into this trap myself. Keep this in mind as we navigate through the video. Let's start with one of the most intriguing aspects of Hall's work, symbols. I want you to imagine walking into a room filled with ancient artifacts, each one telling a story without saying a word. That's the power of symbols. They bypass the intellect and speak directly to the soul. Hall believed that symbols are the universal language of the cosmos, and when you learn to interpret them, you gain access to a deeper layer of reality. Take, for example, the pyramid. At first glance, it's just a geometric shape. But when you delve into its meaning, you find layers upon layers of significance, the ascent from the material to the spiritual, the balance between stability and aspiration, and the connection between humanity and the divine. Now, dreams often contain powerful symbols, archetypal images that can reveal hidden truths about ourselves. In my own life, I found that paying attention to these symbols has a profound impact on my subconscious mind. Over the last few months, I've been journaling my dreams upon waking, and it's been like discovering a personal vault of insights tailored to me. Sometimes, I'll even revisit old entries and feel as though I'm watching those dreams unfold again in real time. It's like mental teleportation, seeing and feeling everything I did when I first dreamt a particular dream. By now you're probably wondering, why am I saying this? Why is this helpful? Well, alongside symbolism, there are very few, as I like to call them, cheat codes you can use to reprogram your subconscious mind. Dreams being one of them. You see, dreams offer an insight into the psyche, the underlying mechanisms behind why we behave a certain type of way, or why we entertain a certain type of thought, which then manifest as feelings and emotions within the physical world. Understand this, and you can then reverse engineer the process. If you're not happy with your current reality, begin looking within for the answers. Why is this happening? What's going on inside of me? Master your inner world, and your external reality will follow suit. After all, as Hall reminded us, as above, so below, but I'll touch on this more later in the video. The power of symbols extends into our waking life. If I was to ask all of you right now to bask in a particular feeling, let's say freedom, how would you do it? Most of you wouldn't know how to conjure that feeling on command. But now imagine this. Picture yourself standing on the mast of a ship, sailing atop of a vast crystal blue ocean. The skies are clear, filled with majestic white birds flying without a care in the world. A golden sun beaming down onto you, filling you with energy and warming your skin. The wind subtly blowing behind your back. Your crew happily singing a sea shanty in perfect unison as you make your way toward a shared destination. Can you feel it now? Man, that takes me back to the days of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. If you know, you know. Anyway, that's the power of symbols. Your subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. It responds only to feeling. Older civilizations understood this, encoding entire languages in symbols like Egyptian hieroglyphics to tap into this universal truth. There was a time when I kept noticing the image of a phoenix everywhere. In books, on TV, even in random conversations. At first, I dismissed it as a coincidence, but then I realized it was a message. The phoenix, a symbol of death and rebirth, was urging me to let go of old patterns and embrace change. When I finally acted on that insight, my life began to transform in ways I couldn't have even imagined. The symbols in your life aren't random, they're guiding stars. So here's a question for you. What symbols keep appearing in your life, and what might they be trying to tell you? Alchemy is often depicted as the quest to transform lead into gold, but Manly P.Hall revealed that this is a metaphor for something far greater, the transformation of the soul. The lead represents the dense, unrefined aspects of ourselves, our fears, our doubts, and limitations. The gold is spiritual enlightenment, the radiant state of self-realization where mind, body and spirit align. And the Philosopher's Stone? It's not a physical object, but the ultimate key to unlocking this transformation. Hall described the Philosopher's Stone as the symbol of man perfected, the ultimate goal of alchemy. It's about taking the raw materials of your life, your challenges, your shadows, and even your pain, and refining them into something extraordinary. This is what he called the great work, the alchemical process that turns ordinary existence into a masterpiece. I remember a moment in my own journey that embodies this idea. Years ago, I was stuck in what felt like an endless loop of self-doubt and frustration. Every goal I set felt just out of reach. A few businesses of mine had failed to live up to expectations, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental was missing. But what? One day, while reading Hall's words, it clicked. The obstacle wasn't external, it was me. My fears, my limitations, my belief that I wasn't good enough. These were the lead I had to transform. And that's exactly what Manly's teachings recommend. Self-awareness. Take a moment to look inward. What aspects of your life feel like lead? Is it fear of failure, limiting beliefs, or unresolved wounds? These are the raw materials for your alchemical process. Think of your life as a crucible. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of struggle, these are the fires of transformation. It's not about avoiding the fire, but stepping into it, allowing it to burn away what no longer serves you. Hall reminds us that the real alchemist isn't afraid of the flame because they know it's the only way to purify the soul. The Philosopher's Stone isn't something you find, it's something you become. By facing your shadows, embracing your dualities, and aligning with your higher self, you step closer to this state of perfection. And as you transform, so does the world around you. Hall taught that the alchemist's journey isn't personal, it's universal. By refining yourself, you contribute to the refinement of the collective. In Hall's own words, the stone is the crown of wisdom, the key to the mysteries, and the guide to immortality. It is the final stage of alchemy, not an end, but a beginning, a doorway to a new way of being. So let me ask you, what is the lead in your life? Is it fear, self-doubt, or the illusion that you're unworthy of greatness? Are you ready to step into the fire to forge your inner gold? The Philosopher's Stone is already within you, waiting for you to claim it. As above, so below. As within, so without. This Hermetic saying holds the key to understanding the interconnectedness of all things. At first glance, it might seem like just another mystical phrase, but it's far more significant. It is a revelation that the universe and the individual are mirrors of one another, each reflecting the other in a dance of infinite complexity. Think of the veins in a leaf. They mirror the branching of a tree, the flow of rivers, and even the network of stars in the night sky. These repeating patterns aren't a coincidence. They're evidence of a great cosmic mind that connects everything from the smallest cell in your body to the vast expanse of the galaxies above. Manly P.Hall often spoke of how everything in nature carries the blueprint of the whole. The rhythm of your heartbeat echoes the cycles of day and night, and the phases of the moon influence the tides, and some say even your emotions. If you don't believe me, during the next full moon, pay attention to how your energy levels change, and notice how crazy the people around you act during its presence. Anyway, this isn't poetic, it's a reality that invites you to see yourself as intricately connected to this glorious design of existence. Here's where this principle becomes practical. If the outer world reflects the inner world, then everything you encounter is an opportunity to learn about yourself. Challenges, conflicts, and even triumphs are all teaching moments, mirroring the state of your inner landscape. Think about the chaos in your life, an unresolved argument, a sense of being stuck, or a recurring frustration. What if these external struggles are just projections of something you haven't faced within? It's like trying to clean a mirror by wiping at the reflection instead of addressing the smudge on your own face. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow offers a striking example of the Hermetic principle of correspondence. Jung believed that the parts of ourselves we suppress or deny, the shadow, don't disappear. Instead, they project outward, appearing as traits we criticize or despise in others. This is the essence of as within, so without. The unacknowledged chaos within us finds expression in the world around us. For instance, if you find yourself irritated by someone's arrogance, ask yourself, why does this bother me so much? You may uncover an insecurity or a buried fear of being judged in the same way. Now consider how this aligns with Hermetic wisdom. The inner world shapes the outer world. Just as the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, your internal state creates your external reality. By bringing your shadow into conscious awareness and integrating those hidden aspects, you align your inner and outer worlds, creating harmony. This practice isn't just about self-improvement, it's a spiritual alchemy. When you transmute the lead of unacknowledged fears and flaws into the gold of self-awareness and acceptance, you embody the Hermetic process of transformation. The outer world responds in kind, shifting to reflect your inner growth. The universe doesn't just speak to you, it is you. Every encounter, every challenge, every synchronicity, they're all reminders of this truth. As the Hermetic principle of correspondence teaches, the patterns of the stars above mirror the patterns within, and the balance you create in your soul ripples out into the fabric of reality. So, I leave you with this question. What reflection is the universe showing you right now? Are you ready to face it, embrace it, and transform because of it? Or will you keep looking at the mirror and blaming the reflection for what you see? The choice is yours. Sound isn't just something we hear, it's a powerful force that shapes reality. Manly P.Hall taught that the universe runs on vibration. Everything, down to the smallest particles and even the sound of your voice, is constantly vibrating. These vibrations aren't just symbolic, they can shape both matter and consciousness. Take cymatics for example, a process where sound frequencies create shapes in materials like water or sand. Low frequencies produce basic, simple patterns, while higher frequencies form intricate and beautiful designs. It's a clear demonstration of how sound can shape and organize matter. Ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians and Hindus, understood this power of sound, embedding it into practices like chanting and sacred hymns to connect with creation itself. I'm going to take you guys back 10 years to the time of my very first heartbreak. I remember being consumed by sadness. Every waking second of mine was dominated by emotional pain, my thoughts tangled in an endless loop of negativity. Everyone can probably relate to this. That first time you get your heart broken, it hurts, man. It's tough. I mean, emotional pain sucks. And I was stuck in this cycle of sadness until I discovered solfeggio frequencies, specific tones said to harmonize the mind and body. Out of curiosity and honestly desperation, I began listening to the 528 Hz frequency, often referred to as the love frequency. Back then, though it's a vague term, I wouldn't really class myself as spiritual, so you have to understand that this was a very weird thing for me to do. My thought process was, it, might as well give it a go, I've got nothing to lose. At first it felt like nothing more than pleasant background noise, but over time, something interesting began to happen. My inner chatter quietened, the feelings I was experiencing lost their grip on me, and I felt a growing sense of clarity and peace. What struck me wasn't just the emotional shift, but the physical sensation. The vibrations seemed to resonate within me, loosening mental knots I hadn't even realized were there. It wasn't mystical, it was experiential. Hall often said that sound serves as a bridge between the material and the immaterial, and in that moment, I felt the truth of those words. But it's not just external sounds that wield power. Your own voice is an instrument of transformation. Ancient traditions have long understood the significance of intentional sound, from the sacred chants of Tibetan monks to the mantras of Vedic teachings. Even modern science supports this. Studies show that vocal toning, sustaining a tone or hum, can lower stress, regulate the nervous system, and increase oxygen flow to the brain. Consider the chants used by the ancient Egyptian mystery schools dedicated to Thoth, the god of wisdom and knowledge. According to esoteric traditions, initiates would recite sacred phrases in carefully chosen harmonic tones to align themselves with Ma'at, the principle of divine order and balance. One such chant, as noted by Manly P.Hall, involved the repetition of vowels in extended, melodic patterns. The purpose wasn't just to honor the divine, but to awaken latent faculties within the individual, the higher mind, or what Hall referred to as the spiritual intelligence of the soul. These chants were said to vibrate through the temple chambers, resonating with the limestone walls to amplify their effects, creating an atmosphere where the material and immaterial could converge. This wasn't mere ritual or blind devotion, it was an advanced practice rooted in the Hermetic understanding that sound carries the power to harmonize the individual with universal principles. The voice became an instrument of transformation, shaping not only the outer environment, but the inner architecture of the soul. Just as cymatics show us how sound can shape matter, the vibrations you emit through your voice, your actions, and even your thoughts shape your reality. The Hermetic principle of vibration states that nothing rests, everything is in motion. By consciously raising your vibration, whether through sound, meditation, or aligning with uplifting emotions, you align yourself with higher states of being. Manly P. Hall describes sound as one of the purest expressions of divine intelligence, capable of unlocking hidden dimensions of the self. When you use sound intentionally, whether by singing, chanting, or even speaking affirmations, you're not just creating noise, you're sending ripples through the energetic field that connects all things. So, what soundscapes are you creating in your life? Are your words, thoughts, and actions harmonizing with the reality you wish to build, or are they generating dissonance? Moving ahead, think of your words as spells. Remember, the vibrations you put out into the world will inevitably return to you. Manly P. Hall taught that we each carry universal archetypes within us, timeless symbols and patterns that form the foundation of human experience. These archetypes, which Carl Jung described as the primordial images of the collective unconscious, shape how we perceive the world and how we act within it. They are more than abstract concepts, they are living forces that influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Jung identified archetypes such as the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, and the lover, among others. These are not mere story characters, but psychological frameworks that mirror the universal stages of growth, challenge, and transformation. For example, the shadow represents the repressed or hidden aspects of ourselves, while the hero symbolizes our capacity for courage and perseverance in the face of adversity. These archetypes are deeply embedded within us, waiting to be recognized and integrated. Take the hero's journey, a narrative pattern that appears in myths, legends, and even modern movies like The Matrix or Star Wars. The hero sets out to overcome a great challenge, encounters mentors, battles their inner and outer demons, and ultimately returns transformed. This story resonates worldwide because it reflects our own inner journey of self-discovery. But here's the deeper truth. You are not just the hero. You are also the mentor, the shadow, and even the trickster who disrupts your progress with doubt or self-sabotage. These archetypes are not external forces. They are aspects of your psyche. Jung described the process of individuation as integrating these archetypes, particularly the shadow. When ignored, the shadow can manifest as destructive behavior or projection, where we see our repressed traits in others. But when acknowledged, it becomes a source of power, creativity, and insight. As Hall noted, to conquer the self is the greatest of all victories. I once faced a period in my life where I felt stuck in a cycle of frustration and self-doubt. I mean, this isn't exclusive to me. I bet all of you watching have also gone through something similar at a stage in your life. Looking back though, I can see how the archetypes were at play. The shadow loomed large, manifesting as insecurity and fear, while the hero hesitated, unsure of its strength. It wasn't until I consciously faced the shadow, acknowledging my fears and flaws rather than avoiding them, that I began to move forward. This is the key. By naming the archetypes at work within us, we gain the power to work with them rather than be controlled by them. Recognizing the shadow allowed me to step into the hero's role, not by eliminating my flaws, but by using them as fuel for growth. So, which archetypes are active in your life right now? Are you stuck in the grip of the shadow, or are you embracing the hero within? Are you listening to the mentor's guidance, or are you being tricked by the trickster? Hall and Jung both understood this complex truth. By recognizing and integrating these archetypes, you gain mastery of your inner world, and, by extension, the outer world. Manly P.Hall believed that the greatest works of literature are more than just stories. They are repositories of esoteric truths, encoded in allegories, symbols, and archetypes. From Shakespeare to Dante, these texts serve as treasure maps, pointing toward hidden insights about the human soul and the nature of existence. Take Dante's Inferno for instance. On the surface, it's a journey through hell, a vivid exploration of divine punishment and sin. But as Hall taught, Inferno is also an allegory for the soul's descent into the depths of its own unconscious. The circles of hell are not just places, they are psychological states. Each sin Dante encounters reflects a fragmented aspect of the human psyche: greed, pride, lust, and wrath, serving as a mirror for us to examine our own shadows. The descent through hell begins with being lost in a dark wood, symbolizing confusion, despair, and the spiritual crises that initiate deep transformation. Dante's guide, the poet Virgil, represents reason and wisdom, a necessary companion as one navigates the chaos of inner turmoil. As Dante descends further, the layers of hell correspond to increasingly severe distortions of divine principles. For example, the second circle, reserved for the lustful, illustrates how unbridled desire leads to a loss of self-control, much like how unchecked passions cloud judgment and enslave the mind. But here's the key: Inferno is not just about punishment, it's a call to recognize these flaws within ourselves and ascend beyond them. The journey through hell is the first step towards self-realization, echoing the Hermetic idea that, as above, so below. The depths of hell mirror the depths of the unconscious, and to rise, one must confront what lies below. Hall often likened the act of reading great literature to embarking on a spiritual quest. Just as a seeker studies sacred texts to uncover hidden wisdom, so too can one approach literature with the intent to decipher its deeper meanings. The symbols, archetypes, and patterns within these works are like lanterns, illuminating the path to higher understanding. Pick a book, play, or poem you love, and revisit it with new eyes. Look beyond the surface, ask yourself, what deeper truths might the author have encoded within the text? Is there an archetype or a universal principle at play? For example, in Inferno, consider how each sin Dante encounters might reflect not just societal issues, but personal tendencies within yourself. And in Plato's allegory of the cave, reflect on how the prisoner's journey from darkness to light symbolizes the path of spiritual awakening. It's a reminder that breaking free from ignorance isn't just about gaining knowledge, it's about transforming your entire perception of reality, a concept deeply rooted in esoteric wisdom. If you want to learn more about this specifically, I'll leave a link in the description to a video I made on this topic. In my humble and non-biased opinion, some of my best work to date. Anyway, moving on, even modern works like J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings contain echoes of ancient wisdom, with themes of sacrifice, inner strength, and the battle between light and darkness. As Hall taught, literature is not just a reflection of life, it's a reflection of the soul. The stories we read are not separate from us, they are extensions of our inner world, offering us a chance to see ourselves more clearly. So, ask yourself, what truths lie hidden in the words you consume? Are you reading only with your eyes, or are you reading with your soul? In a world filled with endless notifications, scrolling feeds and glowing screens, one of the greatest tragedies of our time is disconnection. Disconnection from ourselves, from each other, and from the natural world. Hall warned that this wasn't just a byproduct of modern life, but a symptom of something deeper. We have forgotten who we truly are. I know for a fact you felt it at some point in time. The emptiness beneath the constant noise, the ache that lingers after scrolling through endless feeds, searching for connection, but finding only comparison. The quiet sorrow of conversations that stay shallow, where we speak, but we never really truly hear each other. Now, I used to feel it too, this hollow, gnawing sense that something essential was missing. Before my spiritual awakening, many years ago, I remember one night lying awake, literally just staring at the ceiling, overwhelmed by a life that felt increasingly meaningless. On paper, everything seemed fine. I had my routines, my goals, my distractions, but inside, I was a stranger to myself. I didn't even recognize the person staring back at me in the mirror. Hall's teachings were a lifeline in that dark night of the soul. He didn't offer quick fixes or easy answers. Instead, he asked uncomfortable questions. What have you forgotten about yourself? What parts of you have been silenced? His wisdom reminded me that disconnection isn't inevitable. It's a call to remember, to return to what's real. Think about how often we mistake busyness for purpose or distraction for fulfillment. We scroll through endless posts of curated happiness, but rarely pause to ask, what is this doing to my soul? Hall spoke of a universal unity that binds all things, a great thread connecting every soul, every thought, every star. But in the modern world, that thread has frayed. We've become islands, isolated from one another, even when surrounded by people. The paradox is heartbreaking. We have never been more connected technologically, yet emotionally, we've never been further apart. Reconnection starts with a simple, often uncomfortable truth. You can't find your way back to wholeness while running from yourself. Hall taught that to heal disconnection, you must first make space for presence. But presence is not just sitting in silence or meditating on a mountaintop. It's about engaging deeply with your life, moment by moment. I learned this lesson in an unexpected way by confronting the very thing I avoided most, solitude. For years, I filled every spare moment with distractions, afraid of what I might uncover in the quiet. But when I finally allowed myself to sit alone, without music, without a phone, without some kind of agenda, something changed. At first it was very uncomfortable. Restlessness crept in, followed by doubt. But then I noticed something remarkable, a clarity emerging from the stillness, just as I spoke of earlier. Thoughts that had been tangled in the background of my mind began to sort themselves out. I began to hear myself, not just the version shaped by the world, but the voice underneath, the one I had been too busy to listen to. Presence isn't about perfection or having all the answers. It's about meeting yourself exactly where you are, without judgment, and finding a sense of grounding in the here and now. Reconnection requires courage, the courage to confront the questions we're so good at avoiding. Who am I really, when all of the labels are stripped away? What am I doing with this one precious life? What have I sacrificed in the name of comfort or convenience? Hall reminded us that these questions are not burdens, they are gifts. They are the keys to remembering what we've forgotten, that we are not separate from each other, or from nature, or from the divine. We live in a world that thrives on our disconnection, but we have the power to change that. Every moment you choose presence over distraction, authenticity over pretense, and connection over isolation, you take a step back toward wholeness. Disconnection isn't just a condition of the modern age, it's a choice. And reconnection, as difficult as it may seem, is always within reach. So where does this leave us? Manly P.Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages isn't just a book, it's a call to action, a timeless reminder that, as the ancient wisdom tells us, there is nothing new under the sun. The truths you seek have always existed, not in some distant realm or lost era, but within the essence of your own being. Hall's teachings hold up the mirror. but only you can summon the courage to look into it and see what stares back. The question is not if you're ready, it's whether you're willing to embrace the discomfort that comes with transformation. This path will challenge everything you think you know. It will strip away the illusions you cling to for safety, forcing you to confront the parts of yourself you've buried. It's the quiet moments of doubt when you realize that the journey inward is far harder than the search for answers outside yourself. It's facing the darkness of your own shadow and finding the light within. Transformation doesn't come without cost. It demands your honesty, your courage, and your willingness to let go of the person you thought you were. Now, pause, reflect. What's the first step you can take today? Maybe it's dusting off that book that's been waiting on your shelf. Maybe it's sitting in silence, letting the noise of the world fade so that you can hear what's been whispering all along. Or maybe it's simply looking around you and recognizing that the symbols, the signs, the map, they've always been there, waiting for you to notice. The map is in your hands, and the path lies open before you. But make no mistake, every step forward will demand something of you. To awaken means to shed the illusions that once comforted you. To transform is to walk through fire, burning away the false self to reveal the truth within. To embrace who you are is to face not just your light, but also your darkness, and to accept both without turning away. The journey ahead is not for the faint of heart. It will challenge you, break you, and remake you. But in the breaking, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. And in the remaking, you'll discover that the life you've been searching for isn't out there. It's waiting for you on the other side of fear. This is the path. It's the hardest one you'll ever walk, but it's also the only one worth taking.